Welcome to the Mercedes Swap Shop. I'm Josh, the owner and the founder. I am here for all of your Mercedes electronic needs. Remember to like, follow, share, subscribe. Go follow me on Facebook. I had to make a new one. The old one got taken down for some reason. Go like me on Instagram. Follow everything there. I'm on TikTok. I'm on YouTube. Just remember to keep up to date with everything that we're doing. If you want to see swaps, you want to see what kind of electronics we program, you need new keys, you're told that it's more expensive to do the swap than it would be to just go buy the car or whatever. A lot of that has changed over the years, so feel free to hit me up. I do fully functional plug and play. Therefore, there's nothing you have to do on your end except send me a few things, you get it back, plug it all together, do your swap. I'll help guide you through the swap. You turn that key, it'll start right up and you're good to go. So don't hesitate to contact me with questions. There's a lot of stuff that we can do and it may not all be out there online. So hit me up and let's do it. Hello everybody and welcome to the Mercedes Swap Shop. Today I have a good one for you. This is going to be a video about compressor manuals. I just want to get it out there real quick that this is not my car. I did not do this swap. I simply just came in to finish it. All the ones that we've done in the past, they work with fixed pulleys. So this customer specifically wanted a way that it would work fully factory. He wanted it stock. He wanted the supercharger to engage like it would from the factory. So that took a little bit of doing, but he was close to me, so he dropped the car off. Took me a few days to figure it out. This has never been done before. I want to also state for the record, my only competitor in this market was under a time constraint. He didn't have enough time to really dive into the aftermath of what they did in order to get it to work. So I wanted to make sure that everybody's aware that I'm not trying to step on anybody's toes or anything, but this is actually the first fully factory working compressor manual. And this application will go on to the 55Ks. This is a 32 AMG with a manual and SRT6 Crossfire. Yeah, now that all the disclaimers and everything are out of the way, let's get to the car. Let's go over what makes this swap unique and so coveted. What it basically comes down to is the compressor cars, the supercharged versions of the Mercedes from, you know, the early 2000s until the mid to late 2000s. The problem is that they used the automatic transmission in every single model. Now, there's a lot of theories as to why they did it, but it ultimately boils down to comfort, luxury, speed of shift, quickness. It was just an easier car to drive and it was faster. With a manual, even the fastest shifter in the world is not going to shift as fast as the lazy 722.6s that they put in these cars. But at the end of the day, there's still a lot of people that would prefer to have a manual. They want to be able to shift when they want it. This is good for like road course, autocross, you know, the people that aren't drag racing, even grand touring applications, because, you know, it's nice to leave it in a gear while you're cruising on the highway, you need to pass somebody, you can just leave it in gear. Whereas the automatic will downshift or try to figure out what's going on, and it's not doing what you want it to do necessarily. So there's many reasons why to switch to a manual, and honestly, it's just more fun. What we were able to do was we were able to get the supercharger clutch to actually engage when it's supposed to, when the ECU decides that it's supposed to, as if it had an automatic transmission. So reasons the supercharger clutch would turn off would be idle, low load applications. So if you're just cruising along and you're not really in the throttle very much, you're just in a parking lot or something, the supercharger clutch isn't going to activate during times like that. So we were actually able to get all of that to function stock. Other reasons that the supercharger might turn off, or you might want it to turn off, would be your cooling for the intercooler is too hot, the intake air temp is too hot, just safety reasons in general. A lot of knock detection or something, it'll actually shut the supercharger off. And the problem with a fixed pulley is you don't have any of those safeties. You actually get rid of the whole point of having a clutched supercharger in the first place. A lot of you know that for my swap, my 55K manual, that this was a big problem for me. I really didn't want to go fixed pulley. I really wanted a solution to keep it as factory as possible. Part of that is because of California. Part of that is because of the safety reasons that Mercedes decided to put the thing there in the first place.
All right, well, tried filming some driving with the top down, but couldn't hear anything, so we're gonna go back out with the top up, and hopefully you guys can hear me and hear the supercharger whine. Yeah, so I'm trying to remember what I was talking about now. I never got to hear. Oh, here we go. I never got to hear supercharger whine on my E55. I guess that was because I had the stock intake, and it really comes through when you change the intake. But yeah, it's so cool hearing it. Never got to hear it before. Yeah, some of the other stuff I was talking about was first gear isn't completely useless like it is in mine, my V8. I think it ultimately boils down to a torque thing. It takes a while for this supercharged motor to actually build boost. You're usually a little bit higher in the range, in the rev range, so the V8 makes so much torque just off the bat that I would say it's a little harder to drive. This is a little bit more feasible for day to day. Sure, it's not going to be as luxurious or as comfortable. Cruise control works, by the way, too. I know that's a big one for a lot of people. We figured that out a long time ago, though. It really came down to, I have no problem explaining this too, so that people know, but what that ultimately came down to was the clutch pedal position switch. You have two switches on the manual cars. that aren't on the automatics: the clutch interlock switch and the clutch pedal position. The clutch interlock is the wire that actually sends the start signal when you're in the cranking position, is actually chopped and then ran through the clutch interlock, so that you have to push the clutch down in order to start the car. But for the automatics, that wire runs straight to the ECU. So that's how you're able to start this car by just twisting the key without pushing down the clutch, is because that isn't there. And when you forget, or not even forget, a lot of people don't want that wired in, so they don't. The thing is, when they don't do that one, they usually forget that there's another one higher up on the firewall. That's the clutch pedal position. Clutch pedal position has a ground on one end to go to the switch, and then the other side of the switch goes over to the ECU. And it basically works the same way as the illumination control module, how it detects when there's a light bulb out. You know, it senses too much resistance or not enough resistance on the line. Not enough. And so it'll trigger the light to say, like, you know, there's something wrong with that bulb. Probably popped. Same thing for the clutch pedal position. The ECU is sending out a 5 volt or a 12 volt, I think it's 12 volt signal. And if the switch isn't on there, then it'll default to, you know, cruise control can't work. And it's pretty simple to wire up. Like I said, you just ground one end and then put it to C4.4 on the ECU, and you're golden. And that'll enable cruise control for the manual cars. Yeah, it's much more tame than the V8. It's ferocious up top, though. I got to throw my tune on here, and it was breathtaking, to say the least, doing a third gear pull. I'm not going to bang gears. He's got a brand new clutch, and he asked me to, you know, take it easy for it's got to go 450 miles, so it'll be long back in his hands by the time, you know, it gets there. I'm not going to have it that long. But, you know, we're only at 150, so I'm not going to be doing clutch dumps or crazy shifting at high RPM or anything. He said he didn't care if I did pulls, though, so we'll do a couple of pulls, you know, third gear probably. That's the easiest on the transmission, or on the clutch. So, yeah, very, very interesting swap. It makes me want one, especially the Roadster, the convertible option. It's really nice. Yeah, just having it all work factory, and no check engine light. You know, there's no ESP or anything, or ABS issues. You know, it's happy to be working the way that it is, which, you know, makes me happy. I pride myself on factory swaps, and I really hated the fact that for the compressor cars that we had to do a fixed pulley. It was so frustrating, you know, to the customers too. Yeah, this tune was something else. Going from stock, you know, we had it wired up working, and then I switched it over once I got it all done and figured out. I was like, I'll tune it. You know, I want to see the difference. I got to test it out anyway. And man, what a difference! It's a completely different car. yeah, I'm just happy to have it all working. He's stoked. There's so many reasons to have a manual. You know, I'm always it's hard when you go on the forums and you go on Facebook and stuff, and you try to tell people like, I want a manual, or I want this motor, and people try shutting you. You gotta buy the whole car. Or it's only good if it has an automatic, and it's like, we're way past that, man. This is 20 years later. You're not stuck having to settle. There's so many different options for modifications when it comes to swaps, transmission swaps or engine swaps. You don't have to settle, especially now that the prices fluctuate, and they're kind of high right now, but they are going down. And for the engines and the transmissions for these, the NSG 370 is dirt cheap because they came in so many things. I'm a manual connoisseur. I love my manuals. Being able to shift and switch it up, and road, like I said earlier, road tracks, like circuits and autocross and stuff, it doesn't get better than a manual. And adding some power behind it, because nobody wants a sluggish car, so everybody wants more performance. And the best way to go for that, as I've found out over the years, is the compressor swaps. It's so easy to make lots of power with a supercharged Mercedes engine than it would be in a naturally aspirated. They take to mod so well, they take to tuning so well. There's just so much you can do that you can't do on the naturally aspirated. And it's nice. It's just really nice. Like, the tuning was one of the craziest things. Still, I can't get over it. But if this was my car, I would probably drive this more than the 5-liter manual coupe Crossfire. Even though I'm a lot lighter, my gearing's a little better for touring, but it's still, this thing, man, the pull once you're at like 3,000 RPM is insane. You just don't get that pull out of the V8. Or you do get pulled, but it's all down low. Once you get into higher RPM, you don't get the amount of pull that you do in this. And that's kind of where it all matters. Up top, high RPM. Somebody flying upon me. Ten out of 10 recommend. And down to the nitty gritty, the controller that I I didn't do alone. I actually have to give a huge shout out to Andrew Teagan over in Australia. I work with him. He's my TCU guy. He does all the TCU tunes. He does a lot of stuff for 722.6s, and man, he is just so crazy intelligent when it comes to anything that has to do with transmissions or figuring out some of the crazier stuff that we've been doing lately with CAN bus. We're actually coming up with a cool data logging device that'll work with a display that you put inside of the cluster, and you'll be able to cycle it with your the little knob things, and it'll tell you whatever you want: intake air temp, coolant temp. We can do like a digital speed or something. That's all to come later, and we'll have a big breakdown of how that works. Basically, you'll send your cluster, and then we'll retrofit some slightly bigger displays in there, and then you'll be able to toggle data logging features. And it's over the CAN bus, so you're actually not getting the OBD2 lag, right? So OBD2 on the K line, there's only like a 10 megahertz refresh rate or something like that. I don't even think it's that good. I think it's like 1 megahertz. And anyway, so when people data log, it's really slow, and they just can't get, with Torque Pro or any of the OBD2 data logging apps, you don't get the nice precise data you're looking for. So because we're using the CAN bus, which is 500 kilobits per second, we can actually get that data instantaneous, or damn near. The refresh rate is absolutely mind-boggling. We can 600 megahertz, but we can also overclock. So and by the way, that's me letting off the gas right when I go to shit. Like I said, I'm not trying to get the clutch spinning like crazy when I'm going into the next gear. I'm trying to keep the friction disc nice and secure when it grabs. I don't know. Yeah, the data logging stuff is going to be crazy. You'll be able to have all the info you could ever want or need right there on your instrument cluster. You can take a video, send it to us, we'll be able to tune your car based off that, really dial you in. But yeah, back to what I was talking about. Me and Andrew sat down, and it took us a few days, longer than I thought it would. In those few days, people are like, "Oh, 3 days, that's nothing," and it was long. I mean, we were pushing 15. I was pushing 15 to 20-hour days. Well, maybe not 20, 15 to like 18-hour days for 3 days straight, trying to get this working. But yeah, with his help and what I was able to do, and testing and retesting, and coding and recoding, we finally got it down to something that anybody could install very easily. And yeah, I mean, I'm stoked. I'm happy. This is absolutely amazing. I know one of the first questions I'm going to get is the 55K application is quite a bit different since they use a bypass valve. That will still all function stock. The way that we are doing it, it allows the ECU the control over everything that the ECU wants control over. So this is not some piggyback, examine throttle response, engage the clutch, manually. We're not bypassing, we're allowing the ECU the control that it wants and the control that it needs in order to
actually function. Everything's stock. So, but it is worth, you know, it is a big difference. That was actually the first idea that we had was, you know, oh, we can measure RPM on the CAN bus and then, you know, make like a control to go over around the supercharger clutch from the ECU or whatever, you know, based on, like, we could even do it based on load, or we could do it on a variety of factors. We could make some huge long script that basically feeds it the same information that the ECU is looking for in the first place, but it's all very overly complicated, and then you're getting into tapping into all these wires, or you're getting into strenuous research of CAN bus protocol for all these different systems. And so we actually figured out a much simpler, much safer, much easier way to do it. And it came out nice. I mean, it'll work for the 55K, it'll work for the 32s. And, I mean, this thing's an absolute blast. Getting ready for the live stream. If you guys aren't following me on Facebook, you know, YouTube, Instagram, I'm on TikTok now. I'm trying to be, I have my website still, so, you know, I have like thorough breakdowns. One thing to note is that we actually changed our tuning prices. I've got more comfortable tuning injectors and the supercharged, the pulleys, the crank pulleys, and the supercharger pulley boost differences and everything. So I've got them all at a flat rate of 300. So any ME 2.8 or 2.8.1, regardless, we're doing the ECU tuning at 300 for all models, all variations. And I haven't gone on to the website to fix that yet. And I think there's old posts where I state that it's different. So just, you know, make a note of that. Yeah, we've got a bunch of projects going on right now. Lots of people doing top swaps, you know, fitting the supercharger onto a naturally aspirated motor. And I still see a lot of comments from people about that, saying, it's not worth it. You're not gonna, you know, you're not gonna get, it's gonna be the wrong compression, and it won't do this, and it won't do this. Like, man, the compression on the naturally aspirated motors is low by modern standards, like by standards of some to most models that are turboed or supercharged. Like, we're the naturally aspirated 320 engine, the 3.2 liter, 10.5 to 1 compression is low. That is low compression. That's not high compression by any means. You know, if you wanted to throw a boost at that, you could. I actually think that's more reasonable to do than the 2005, 2006 C55s and CLK 55s. They have 11.5 to 1 compression, and people top swap those all the time. So, I mean, if they can do it with a 2.6 liter blower, why can't you do it with on a 10.5 to 1 with a 1.8 liter blower? It doesn't make any sense to me. People deter people from thinking or trying or, you know, doing any of that stuff, but you could, no problem. I mean, it just makes more sense to me to do it on the 3.2 that has the low compression. Yeah, he's actually got the
307 differential in here versus the stock NA Crossfires have a 327, and then I switched mine over to a 282, and I thought about the 307, but I was like, it's not a big enough change. I probably wouldn't feel a difference, but it's actually pretty nice. I kind of like the 307 because you still get the aggressive delivery, but it's still spread out enough. It's not too bad. But you can see me grabbing the wrong gear sometimes because I'm used to mine, my 282. It's so much taller, so it's like I can use second for a far wider range than in this car. Man, this thing is just an absolute blast. Oh, that Supercharger one. So cool. Yeah, I'm not going to have the car much longer, so just a couple of little things I still got to button up. But I'm waiting on the part to come in. And after that, it's going home. It's always a fun story. The guy that actually owns this car is the guy that raced an SRT6 Crossfire versus the SRT Viper on that Top Gear episode when they go to a drag strip in Vegas, and they're like, pick on a weak one, and it's the Crossfire just absolutely pulling on the Viper. The same guy that had that Crossfire that actually filmed that raced it is the guy that owns this one. From what I understand, he's got like 7 Crossfires or something, and he's actually gunning for a pretty crazy swap that we're gonna have to do. He's gonna handle the mechanical side, and I'm gonna handle the electronics. But he wants the 63, and he's pretty adamant about that's gonna be done at some point. We don't know when or anything, and we're still just kind of talking about it. It started as a joke, and then he was like, no man, like, let's do it. And I was like, it's crazy, it's a crazy swap, but I like doing crazy stuff like that, so might as well. Oh, I wonder if my buddy Tim is out and about. He actually had the most pristine Roadster Crossfire I'd ever seen. I got to work on it all the time for like anything mechanical that he had going on, and he bought it in 2008, and he had it up until the end of last year, and he got rid of it because he wanted a Hellcat. So he's got a Hellcat now. That thing is a absolute monster. But yeah, we should go show him this, because he's a big roadster guy, and this car is super clean. The swap came out pristine. Like I said, I didn't do the swap. It was the guy that owns the car. He's got, you know, all the... He knows the Crossfire better than anyone, probably. I'm good with the electronics, and I've done a lot of mechanical stuff, but I haven't done anything like this. I mean, he had this car completely gutted. It was just bare metal all the way, inside, outside, everywhere. Just bare metal. And he was like mixing and matching what electronics and what interior bits, and, you know, he was picking and choosing what all he wanted this car to be fit with, based off recommendations I was giving him for completion. You know, I was like, if we're going to do it, we need to do it like this, you know, I need this and that. And he was like, all right. And so he, you know, it's got the SRT6 seats, and then it's got like the NA ESP module, which ended up not being relevant. You know, I was certain in my head, I was like, oh, that's the problem, is everybody with a 32 doing the manual swap was probably using a 32 ESP module. And I was like, ah, that's it right there, the manual module, right? And no, I had nothing to do with it at all. So thought it would, but turns out it's irrelevant. You know, one of the guys I did a C32 manual for a while back, he couldn't communicate with the ESP module. And I was like, oh, that's gotta be it. And as I found out in the last few days, that is definitely had nothing to do with it.
Remember to like, follow, subscribe, everything The Mercedes Swap Shop. I'm on Instagram. I'm working on getting my Facebook back. It was unpublished for some reason. Check me out on TikTok. Check out my personal page if need be. But make sure you like this video, subscribe. We're going to keep going with everything on this swap, 55K, and we got some more videos to come with whole bunch of other stuff. So I'll see you guys next time.